Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sagar Chavda. Today's my presentation topic is the aesthetics and purification, a comparative study of poetics and Natyashastra. Here are my academic and presentation details. Here is the table of content. My research question is: to what extent do Aristotle's poetics and Bharatamuni's Natyashastra diverge in their structural and psychological mechanism? And how do they ultimately converge in the teleological aim of mental purification? My hypothesis is while Greek and Indian aesthetics operate on fundamentally opposed axes, both frameworks achieve a parallel purification of the mind through the purgative clash of catharsis or the translucent stillness of rasa. Introduction: the dual pillars of classical aesthetics. Poetics and Natya Shastra serve as the absolute anchors of for Western and Eastern dramatic theory. Divergent worldviews. The critic argues that the two definitions of drama proceeds out of two very different ways of looking at the world, which is time and history. The Indian concentration on situation or circumstances is in keeping with the outlook of the central Hindu tradition, as the Greek emphasis upon action typifies their view of men is in history. Placing Athens and India in dialogue reveals how theoretical illusion processes reality and achieves psychological clarity. The object of imitation, action versus situation. While mimesis is clearly an essential element in both the definitions, both the definitions really talks about mimesis. Mimesis means to imitate. But it is to be noted that the objects of imitation are different. The difference between imitating action and imitating situation, imitating action is for the Greek drama, and imitating situation is for the Sanskrit drama, is of a profound significance. The Greek framework states in the definition of the drama that tragedy then is an imitation of an action, and the Indian framework says that the drama, as I have devised, is a mimicry of actions and conducts of people, which is based on their situation. So the Greek framework demands a conflict and a swift movement toward crisis through external and internal clashes, while the Indian framework weight is given to moments of equilibrium, sensed, savored, and reflected upon rather than resolved through combat. The architecture of time, history versus eternity. If the senses of time underlying the action is the clue to the quality of action itself, the Greek emphasis is on action and the Indian interest in situation and circumstances become perfectly understandable. The source of time underlying the action is the clue to the quality of the action itself, not the place content, but the form and quality of action will be known by the senses of time, which informs it. They saw time as essentially past. Therefore, novelty, newness was excluded. But in Hindu view, the Hindu view of time is also cyclical, but it should be described in individual terms as a circling in a solid cone to an infinite point where all is at rest. Time goes on repeating itself, and man is born and reborn, uh, spiraling up until he comes to that point of stillness, which we know as moksha. And that born and reborn is a reincarnation, process of reincarnation, which is released from the cycles of rebirth or births. The psychology of reception, becoming versus being. Aristotelian poetics focuses on becoming. Catharsis denotes auditors' emotional reactions to event on the stage. Since pity and fear are not the emotions of the dramatic characters themselves, but auditors' response to what becomes of them. The former necessarily directs auditors' attention from the past to the future. Thus, it tends to invite further thoughts or action. But in poetics or rasa, by comparison, an analysis of rasa theory suggests another subject for narrative discourse, a concern with being rather than becoming. In the latter, at rest in the present experience of the aesthetic mood. In this state, one experiences the nature of consciousness itself rather than of the object. And to achieve this consciousness, they need to go beyond their ego, which we discuss now. The role of the ego, fate, which is detachment. Aristotelian ego involvement. Aristotelian tragedy heightens awareness of the limitations of the empirical ego. However, such drama also shows that in these very limitations we face the same fate. Hence, it moves auditors towards universal or publical knowledge and away from a view of themselves as unique, isolated beings. But in Indian Rasa, first we have seen Rasa can be known only if auditors abandon a self of themselves as empirical egos. They need to go beyond their self, which is egoless detachment to truly experience the play and the emotions of it. But it does so by shifting their attention from the empirical ego to the pure awareness of the comparative self within all people. The theoretical synthesis, the aesthetics of purification. Despite their opposing methods, both traditions share a profound psychological and spiritual teleology. Aristotelian tragedy and the poetics of Rasa share in common the urge to arouse in auditors a unifying knowledge of the human condition, which they do not find in everyday life. Rama thus liberates man from the passivity of blind feelings and also from his self isolation and gives him a taste of his essential self that is active and lucid in knowledge and is social. There are some emotions that are latent in us, but we do not express them every day. And the work of drama is to make them feel. This is purifactory action of art as the mind is purified of its egotistic, pragmatic attachment to the world. These impurities veil the mind from its essential nature, which is contemplative, joyous, and free. We are inborn contemplative, joyous, and free, but when we experience world, we become something else, and we need to uh, put aside our ego to truly experience the emotions conveyed by the drama. Conclusion: the final resolution. The final resolution is that we are not required to choose the one or exclude the other definition. Each has its own integrity and validity. Understanding each on its own terms offer us the key to an appreciation of the treasures of both dramatic traditions. This is the infographics. These are my references. Thank you. If anyone has any question.
My question is, does the actor on stage experience rasa alongside the audience?
In both traditions, the author should, the actor should convey to truly convey the message of the drama or the emotion. The actor should act accordingly. But in the Sanskrit tradition, we need to go beyond just rather than acting or imitation. There is one concept in Sanskrit tradition, that the concept of hridaya. So you have to be uh, involved in the action itself to let your audience feel that too. So yes, the actor should also feel the same. Another question.
So my question is, can Aristotelian catharsis occur in a play that lacks a central conflict?
If there is no central conflict or in drama or in Aristotelian drama, we cannot find anything like catharsis, because as Aristotle says in his Poetics, that plot is the soul of the play. So what is plot is the soul of the play, and without that plot that has a certain kind of resolution or certain kind of conflict in each, we cannot experience catharsis. To experience pity and feeling of fear, we need to have some diversified emotions to feel these type of emotions and truly feel the catharsis. Thank you, everyone.